Good morning. 21st of March 2020. Britain is now in lockdown from the coronavirus. I've been told by the Prime Minister I've got to stay indoors because I'm over 70. So, to kill the boredom somewhat, I thought I'd do another video. And this time I'm going to talk to you about a little bike that I acquired some months ago. It's a Velocette LE. The year of this bike is 1952, and I bought it about 6 months ago. The bike was designed in the late 40s, well, about the mid 40s, and launched in 1948. The Mark I version had 150cc, and it was Velocette's attempt to produce a bike for the post-war era that would be for every man and every woman to go to work on. They had great hopes of this machine, and really thought it would sell in huge numbers. It's beautifully engineered. It's a twin-cylinder engine. We've got two. It's horizontally opposed, so you've got a cylinder either side there. It's water-cooled. There's a radiator. Water-cooled engine, 200cc. Got a kickstart, 4-speed gearbox, and there's a shaft drive at the back. It's a very pleasant little bike to sit on. It's low, it's easy to get on it. You know, if you're quite small, you can see how my legs are bent. I'm only 5'7". Put your feet on these little boards, and you've got good weather protection from these leg shields. You put a windscreen on it, and you've got excellent weather protection. This little bike was actually exported to France in 1952 and spent its life in France and was repatriated to England in the year 2000 when the previous owner bought it at auction. It's still got its little French red, or amber I should say, amber headlamp bulb in there. Any of you that remember driving in France in the 60s or 70s will remember seeing cars at night all driving along with their amber headlamp bulbs, which was designed to reduce glare so that you didn't blind oncoming drivers, which is I find rather ironic nowadays where we go out on the roads at night and we literally are blinded by massively powerful white LED bulbs. So, you know, back in the 60s or 70s, I don't suppose any of the bulbs were more than 40 watts. Anyway, so this little bike is very pleasant to use. It's light, and it's got a brilliant centre stand. If I just take it off and click it up, you see how easy it is. And then to put it back on, there's no lifting involved. Just back on, and there she goes, back on. It's like a twin prop stand. So it's very easy. You know, it was designed to appeal to women and be very easy to use. I will walk you around the bike in a little while, but before we do that, let's just see how easy she is to start. There is a little on-off petrol tap there. I always leave it just left on. It doesn't flood or leak, but it does keep petrol in the carburettor. And with this petrol with ethanol in it, if you let the carburettor dry out, you end up with gunk in it, which can often, make the machine difficult to run. So I tend to leave the petrol on. There's a little choke that you can pull out this side. I don't think we'll need that. The ignition key is here. It's a very simple key. Put that in there. Turn it on. And it just needs the slightest prod usually. There we are. Very easy to start. The bike was designed very much with that ladies could ride it in cork shoes, and I'll just wait for that train to go by. Trouble with living next to a railway line. So it was designed to be very easy to start. Those of you that might be Velocette LE experts will notice something a bit strange about this bike. It is a 1952 model. It's got the right sort of headlamp assembly for the year and all of that, but it's got the later kickstart and 4-speed foot change gearbox. The earlier models had a hand start and a hand change. I don't quite know how and why this bike has been modified like this. I suspect the previous owner put a later gearbox on it, and that's why it's got the foot change and the electric start. Right, I think I will now take the camera off the stand and walk you around some of the detail of it. Let's start at the front end. As you can see, we have a very deep valance mudguard, which is excellent for keeping the weather off the machine and the rider. A small drum front brake there. Although it looks quite small, it's quite effective for a bike of this size. Decent sized wheels. I think they're 18, but I'm not sure. I have to check that. I'm not sure if they're 18 or 19, but they're good sized proper motorcycle wheels, which gives the bike excellent handling. Coming up, we can see the horn nestling there underneath the headlight, and if we come round, you might be able to see that French amber headlamp bulb. The front number plate designed by Velocette to hold a little license disc there that you can see. This bike is fitted with indicators which were not standard for the year. I think the French regulations were quite strict for an old machine like this. It's not only got indicators, but it had a stoplight switch fitted to the front brake. Coming round, have a closer look at the engine. Try and get out the sunlight a bit. There we go. This is an oil filter for the engine. Those are the coils. You can see the water cooling. That's the feed from the carburetor, the water from the radiator. There's a nice little pump which you may be able to see in there to inflate the tyres if necessary. It's clutch housing, gearbox there. That's the petrol tap. Turn it on. Coming up, having a look at what you might call the dashboard. We've got the ignition key there, and an ammeter, and over here a speedometer. Because this bike came from France, it's in kilometers. Here we've got a very nice little cubby hole where you can keep personal bits and pieces and some tools, and there is the Velos manufacturing plate. Dual seat. Many of them were fitted with a single seat. Come round now, you can see that shaft drive there on the back, which obviously makes the bike very, very maintenance free. There's no chains to mess around with. We can see the other little cylinder there. The engine was side valve, and the design was side valve to try and keep the engine quite narrow. So they're side valve pistons, valves. Here we have the handlebar arrangement. The levers, clutch lever here, brake lever here, they're welded on, so you haven't really got any adjustment. You get used to it, but you can't adjust them either way. Horn button, dip switch. Over here, aftermarket edition of the indicators. The lights are switched on at this switch here. So here we are. Walk it around the bike. And before I conclude this video, I just want to cover the suspension of it. I mean, bear in mind this bike was designed in the 40s, where virtually all machines either had, well, most were rigid, had no suspension on the back, and those that did, it was either some sort of plunger arrangement. This bike has a full swinging arm with adjustable suspension. So as you can see here, there's the suspension units, and they're on a swinging arm. At the front, we've got a telescopic, a proper telescopic front fork. So it's a very advanced bike for the late 40s, and was really an excellent bike to ride. The handling is very good indeed. Velocette were famed for their race bikes and their ability to build good handling, fast machines. And there was no compromise on quality on this little bike. I'm a lifelong motorcyclist, and but I have had a yearning for some time for a small bike, something just to sort of, small and accessible, pop down shop top. I did experiment with a little James 2-stroke some years ago, well, about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a huge disappointment. It didn't have a prop stand, it had a centre stand which was enormously heavy to get it onto. It was a real struggle getting it on the centre stand. It was very poorly designed. It had a 3-speed gearbox which was inadequate for the power. It just wasn't pleasant to ride. It handled reasonably well. The little 2-stroke engine was temperamental in starting and would sometimes, plug my oil up. You had to pre-mix the 2-stroke petrol and get the mixture right. And the electrics were very marginal and fragile. So, it was really a cheap and nasty little thing, and I got rid of it. This, by contrast, is a real quality piece of engineering. It's a beautifully made thing. Of course, the trouble is that I think in the mid-50s, when this bike was made, you could buy a BSA Bantam for about £100. And to put it into perspective, these were 180. So for the cash strap, man or woman, just wanting something to go to work on, paying nearly twice as much for this was not something that they tended to do. So Velocette never achieved the numbers, the manufacturing numbers that they hoped with this bike. What rescued them was that the British police forces took an interest in it. They suddenly realised that this was an excellent machine for the beat bobby, the chap who would just, patrol a local area. It wasn't a it wasn't a traffic policeman, but a beat policeman. And the police bought these in their thousands because they were very reliable. They were, cheap and economic to run, and they provided excellent service for the beat policeman. They're often colloquially named as noddy bikes. The reason they're called noddy bikes is because the policeman riding it, in order to keep both hands on the handlebars, if he met a superior, was allowed to just nod his head rather than salute, which was what he was supposed to do. So they ended up with this sort of nickname, noddy bikes. So Velocette really did, it was over-engineered, really. I mean, if they perhaps, I would guess it was probably more expensive to make this than one of their bigger 500 singles. It's got twin cylinders, water cooling, shaft drive, all expensive, components. So it's a bit of a shame that today, for me, the bikes are not expensive to buy second hand for what are called classic bikes. And the quality comes through, and it's a beautiful little machine. If you just want something easy and accessible to ride, to go to shops in, it's very nice for 10, 15 mile journeys, very pleasant. They can do a lot more, but of course, they're not powerful enough to perhaps hold their own with modern traffic on fast roads. There is a good club for these, and spares. There's plenty of spares availability. There is a club that you can find on the internet, and spares availability is good. So I would heartily recommend this little machine to anybody that wants something a bit quirky and a bit different, but it's going to give a very pleasant riding experience in the sort of 200cc and under category.